Welcome to Ultimate Survival Gear. Today, as you guys can see, yet again I have something from Jack Wolfskin, and these are probably one of the most popular boots from Jack Wolfskin. Let me open up the box. Vojo or Vojo, however you want to pronounce it, 3. Yes, and these are Texapore waterproof hiking boots. Yes, another good stuff from Jack Wolfskin. And I have to tell you guys, the more I review this brand, the more I start to like their products. I mean, they are quality-wise very consistent, comfort-wise very consistent, feature-wise very consistent. Great brand overall so far, great. As some of you know, this is not a regular boot review. This review is specifically for my Ultimate Survival Boots section. Yes, if this wasn't just your regular hiking boot, but something bad happened and you were wearing it, or maybe you had it in the house and you put it on and now you had to travel for miles till you get to the safety, you had to fight on the way, climb, do whatever's necessary to survive. Yes, would this be good? How do we make the judgment? We make the judgment based on 8 different criteria. Let the review begin. Criteria number 1, of course, comfort level. And in order to test the comfort level of all the boots and shoes that I review on this channel, I do a 3-mile run non-stop and then a 5-mile walk right after. No pauses in between, no stopping. Sometimes it's pretty hard because sometimes boots that I review are heavy and bulky, but not in this case, even though this is really a full-size boot in front of you, but they were not that bad. So let's start with the very first factor that contributes to that comfort level. It's the weight. And this is size 10, and size 10 is, let's see, 19.2. So if you watched any of my reviews, you know that whenever it comes to numbers, I usually tell everyone that if you want something that is lightweight, that you can run in, you can climb in, do all of these different things, right? You want something under 20 ounce. The more under 20 ounce, the lighter it's going to be. The more over 20 ounce, obviously you're getting in that heavyweight category. And 20 ounce is kind of that golden middle. Here, I would say the weight is absolutely spot on for the size, for the waterproofing, for as bulky of an outsole, for all the protection that this boot provides. Excellent weight. So you can definitely, walk for extended periods of time without getting fatigued from the weight. There's another factor that contributes to the comfort. It is the flexibility of the outsole. And here, as you can see, surprisingly, in spite of how bulky the outsole is, it is very, very flexible. So you can actually run properly in this boot. But let's get into the inner sole now. I'm gonna take it out and show it to you so you guys can see what it looks like. Nothing crazy on the inner sole. Pretty flimsy heel bed and arch support, so not much. And overall, it's spongy, not that bad. Decent amount of cushioning, but I would recommend probably replacing the inner sole just to get the most out of this boot. Once you remove the inner sole, it goes straight into the midsole, so no more layers of cushioning. Keep that in mind. Even though overall, cushioning-wise, it works very well for the comfort. Now we got the padding. We got the padding in the tongue. Very nice padding in the shaft throughout most of the shaft, which is honestly kind of rare to see. Most of the times you have a little bit of padding on the top and the rest is just nothingness. But here, you have it all the way down here. So your ankles are very nicely protected and very comfortable at the same time. Then going throughout the boot, it's very nice and soft, except the very front part. So make sure to get them in the right size, which we'll talk about the sizing later, because if you don't get them in the right size and if your toe is touching this from the inside, you're not gonna appreciate it. Okay, so overall, comfort-wise, pretty good. Let's move on to the criteria number 2 now. It's proofing and protection. Yes, these are waterproof. We got our Texapore waterproofing, which is sort of a fancy waterproofing technology, not as fancy as Gore-Tex, but In my experience, Texapore performs just as good as Gore-Tex, is just as lightweight, just as breathable. So I personally like it. If you have any comments on specifically Texapore, hey, let everyone know. That would be very, very helpful. But speaking of the protection, you know what? Before we move on to the protection, I wanted to point out something that I'm not very happy with here whenever it comes to the waterproofing, and that's the gusseting of the tongue. As you can see, the gusseting of the tongue goes up only about just a little bit less than 5 inches, and the whole shaft is almost 6 inches. So the whole inch, pretty much, Jack Wolfskin kind of sacrificed on waterproofing. I mean, you can tell where the Texapore fabric starts over here. That's where the gusseting kind of goes. I wish it was going a little bit further up, with the gusseting going a little bit further up, just to get a little bit more clearance. Why? Because this is a full-size boot. You know, you can get 5 inches of waterproofing in a mid-size boot. So what is the point of getting a full-size boot if you are not getting the full-size boot waterproofing clearance, that is? So that's a little bit of kind of a design complaint issue that I have with this particular. Not a big deal, but just something to point out. Now, speaking of the protection, we have our toe cap, kind of. It's not really anything, you know. It's nice. It will definitely give you sufficient amount of protection on a rocky road, but still keep in mind, don't drop anything heavy on it, because it's you know, it's not a composite toe or anything like that. Like I said, you have great amount of protection in the ankles, and your heel is reinforced as well. Obviously, you have plenty of protection from the outsole, but we'll talk about the outsole later. Let's move on to the criteria number 3 now. It's quality and the design features. Now, quality-wise, Jack Wolfskin, excellent brand. This specific boot has over 1,400 reviews on Amazon, almost 5 stars. So people love this boot, and I mean, you can easily tell why. It is great. It is great, and I mean, so far you can see, but it will only get better. Okay, the further we go into the review, it will only get better. Now, speaking of the design features, here I talk about the lacing system. As you can see, the bottom is very simple, just a regular fabric closed hooks, and then you have 2 pairs of open hooks at the very top, which is great for hiking. Now, the strings are very simplistic, nothing crazy over here, just a thin round strings, not very thin actually. It's kind of in between, not too thick, not too thin. Definitely works. Let's move on to the criteria number 4 now, outsole traction and stability. Now, whenever I do my walk and my run, I do it on a variety of different surfaces, starting with older asphalt and the newer tarmac, dry sand, dry grass, wet grass. Then I go into the rocky road, trail surface, concrete, marble, tile, rubber, just everything, literally as much stuff as possible. And this outsole is excellent. I love it. It's really, really, really good. The quality of the outsole rubber is excellent. It's very hard rubber, which is what you want for the outsole, to make sure that these grooves, they're not wobbly. There's decent amount of flatness and aggression, but it's more on the aggressive side, just like I like it. Not too complicated though, nothing crazy where the sand or rocks or anything like that can get stuck, except maybe here at the back, but really not that big of a deal unless you find something specific. So pretty good overall. Now, I wanted to point out a few things that I personally like. Check this out. These ridges right here on the side, I think are absolutely fantastic. I want to see this on every boot that I review. I mean, listen, you're not gonna climb in this boot, probably, for the most part. But because this review is specifically for my Ultimate Survival boot section, because I think about everything, you know, the outsole has to be as versatile as possible. These for climbing right here are great. Climbing a rope, climbing a tree, whatever you're climbing. These are great too. So overall, this is very versatile outsole, and I really, really like it. I like it a lot. So, done with that, done with the outsole. Let's move on to the criteria number 5 really quickly, temperature. Now, temperature-wise, these are not winter boots. These are not insulated. Keep that in mind. You can get away in the winter easily if you implement some insulated socks. The outsole, it will handle great on the snow. On the ice, obviously, it's going to be a little bit slippery, just like most of the stuff unless it's ice boot. But in the hot temperatures, as you would imagine, of course, you would be a little bit on the hotter side if you're using this during the summer. But overall, for a 4-season boot, mild, not, I wouldn't say anything extreme hot or anything extreme cold, just a well-balanced overall 4-season boot. This is pretty good. After all, this is waterproof, so you know, you can definitely use them in the winter if it's not extremely cold or anything like that. But overall, very nicely balanced. Let's move on to the criteria number 6 really quickly, the sizing. Now, these are true to the size, although make sure to get yourself half a size bigger than your normal shoe size. You want to have a little bit of that extra space at the very front because you don't want your toe touching this from the inside. If it is, you're gonna be fatigued really quickly. So make sure you have a little bit of that extra space. Very important. Let's move on to the criteria number 7 now, balance of application. So if this really was your ultimate survival boot, would this be good? I honestly think it's an excellent choice, especially if you prefer full-size boots, if you prefer more protection than lightness, even though this is, I would say, still a lightweight boot for everything that you're getting. But I personally like mid-size just to save on the weight, just to be in the 15-16 ounce range. Doesn't really make a huge difference, but just, you know, a personal preference. But outsole, this is great. This is really fantastic outsole, and it can handle on pretty much anything you throw at it. That's why I think I really like this boot. I'm very impressed. But it gets even better once we get to the criteria number 8, the price. $111. And for everything you're getting in this boot, I think it is a fantastic price. I mean, today, if you were looking for something decent, you are looking at $150, $160. I don't know, everything is getting out of control price-wise. For $111, this, I mean, it blows out a lot of stuff, a lot of competition out of the way, easily. Because like I said, something like this, full size, waterproof, excellent outsole, I mean, excellent quality outsole, very nicely designed. You're gonna be looking $150, $160 at least. So for $111, this is really good. I mean, Jack Wolfskin, they're doing really fantastic job. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think about these Jack Wolfskin boots? Would you consider them as your main hiking boot? Would you consider them as your ultimate survival boot? If you have any requests for reviews, drop them in the comments below. That would be very helpful. I would know what you guys want to see. If this review was useful, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and if you want to support me even more, you can always join the membership on this channel. It's only 99 cents a month, but these money go towards these reviews, getting these products and reviewing them for you. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. This was Ultimate Survival Gear. I'll see you guys in the next video.